colorism is a problem everywhere. Like Indian people don't want their people to be too dark. Black people don't want their people to be too dark.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
Ugliness, I've seen it all, okay? I've seen some stuff that I got to take to my grave.
Yeah.
And I mean that in all sincerity.
And that had to affect you, too, throughout the course of your life,
Of course
too.
it did, but guess what? My depiction of the projects wasn't like everybody else, okay? My mom and my dad were together. My mom stayed at home, and she cooked and cleaned and did our hair, and I got walked to school every morning with my mom and dad, or my dad drove us to school, or as my sisters got bigger, then they walked us to school. Remember, public school 25. I went to the same school she did on Trenton Avenue. And so, like I said, my depiction of my neighbor was totally different. However, it was not pretty.
Well, you hit a key point right there. So the statistic is 70 to 80% of incarcerated individuals come from a fatherless home. Fatherless home, not
I
a
can
motherless
believe
home.
that.
I could see that, yeah.
We have a good friend of ours who's a Paterson girl, Kaya Washington.
Mm-hmm.
She's very near and dear to us. And her and I were having a discussion one day. And I said, because she lives in a bad area. I forget the street she lives on, but I don't want to give it out either.
And she won't move out either.
She won't move out,
Mm-hmm.
but she's got dealers out on the street doing all this stuff. And I said, so you grew up in this house, the same house she lives in. She grew up in it. These people turned out bad, and you didn't. And I said, what's the difference? And she looked at me square in the eye, and I already knew the answer. She goes, because if I would have stepped out of line, my mom would have beat my ass.
Yeah.
Listen, in the words of my mom, she used to say the same thing but similar. She used to always say, Lavana, I'll give you enough rope to hang yourself. Okay?
Well, my father would just say, I'll kick you right in your ass.
Listen.
That was it. That was my rope.
She delivered it that way to me because even as a young girl, I was very intellectual. I was very inquisitive. I was the little girl that, but why? Mm-hmm. I know you telling me this, but why are you telling me to do this? Because if it doesn't make sense, chances are I'm not going to do it. And I wouldn't do it for my mom, and then I'd get my behind beat. And then, after a while, my mom just had to stop beating me because she realized, like, whoa, this is just really her. She's never going to stop.
Yeah.
But the thing was, I wasn't, there's a huge stigma on kids from the projects or from urban areas that we're all stupid. Or we're dumb, or we slow, or
we're all drug addicts.
We have no home training. We don't know how to, present ourselves. We don't have etiquette. That's a big stigma on us. And I'm a proven fact that as a little girl, up until throughout my life, educational life, I'm a National Honor Society student. Mm-hmm. I have my bachelor's degree from Ramapo College of New Jersey. Shout out to them, Road Runners, okay? I've traveled the world. I've interned at the Wendy Williams Show. I've interned at People's Court. I've been on the radio. I'm a wardrobe stylist. I'm on this show, the Suffering Podcast.
Yeah, forget about Wendy Williams. I go to Verona and see her.
Listen, at the end of the day, God got me here, and I'm a little girl from the projects that did it.
Do you think, all those stigmas you were saying about people that grew up in a project, do you think that's media driven?
Of course it is, because remember,
because that's all they put out there.
Exactly. A lot of the information that even our children see and our elderly see is about our Black and brown children from inner cities doing the worst things that they could ever possibly do. So that's what's happening with the older generation and the younger generation. There's a disconnect because of what the media is telling them about us.
The number of news stories about positive Paterson things pale in comparison than negative Paterson things.
You know what I think also? I feel like just in school and like in regular life as a young person, a young Black person, African person, we get a lot of, oh, you bad, or oh, you this, or even in school, like
projection.
Young kids that were just hyper, or just
all I know is I put
thing.
my wallet in my front pocket when both you walked in.
What does that mean?
You girls both know I love you to death.
I left my wallet in my car, and I'm not telling them what I drive.
No, so that's, and again, that was one of the reasons I wanted to bring my kids into. I wanted them to have that fear, and then if I see that fear, I can overcome it. I have to be able
True.
to. It's like
Identify it.
It's like training a dog. You know, you can't fix a dog's behavior unless they're doing it.
Correct.
And I wanted them to get over that fear. The way I grew up, I never had that fear because I grew up around all different races. I don't give a crap what you are. If you're a great guy, you're a great guy, or if you're an asshole, you're an asshole, and it doesn't matter. Color doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
Well, see, we had this conversation the other day too, right? I grew up in Lily White, North Arlington. I didn't meet a black person until I went to high school.
He did tell me that.
And I told you, I think racism is a learned behavior.
Absolutely.
You could take 2 black kids, 2 white kids, 2 Hispanic kids, 2 Asian kids, put them on a playground, they're going to play
when
all day.
I say they will
They're gonna play all day
so
long.
much. Oh my God, they're
Yep.
gonna play and get so dirty that when you take them home and get them a bath, they're gonna sleep.
But one of the things I was surprised at is the amount of racism within the own inner city communities.
Can I tell you what that's called?
Sure.
Colorism.
Yes.
Colorism.
Well, I was going to say, Tosh, you got to get picked on because you're a darker shade.
I definitely got picked
Colorism.
on.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
colorism.
I thought I was
Yes.
unattractive for so long because people would tell me, but I would observe that, the Spanish women or the light-skinned women would get a lot of attention. So I'm like, dang, this
Well,
like
it
that.
still goes on to this day. Didn't Jay-Z
Yes.
do that song? It's girl with the good hair.
It was Beyonce. Becky with the
with the good hair.
Okay.
What Jay-Z did do is the song go for 444. I think it was called OJ. The first bar said, "I'm
yes.
not black, I'm OJ."
But
He
you
said, "Well,
but
okay."
but you also see it on down the line. I mean, something as simple as like Dave Chappelle. You know, when that skit that Charlie Murphy did where it's Rick James and he used to call Eddie Murphy and Charlie Murphy Brother Darkness, right? Because they were dark-skinned black people.
Yes.
And it's like it's shocking to me that there's even racism inside now without
Inside a race.
without
But
getting
that's
too
what's
much
the
into
technical term is colorism.
without getting too much into that. Why do you think that is? Without getting too much into racism, I don't want to make
Okay.
this show about
I
racism.
can answer it. You want to answer it first?
You could go ahead.
You want to go first?
I'll go.
Yeah, go first.
I think that colorism is a problem everywhere. Like Indian people don't want their people to be too dark. Black people don't want their people to be too dark. I mean, it's in Jamaica, people are literally bleaching their skin, wearing sweaters outside in Jamaica, so they're not that
It ain't
dark.
that great being white. Try going out in the sun with this skin complexion.
I think it's just that like
Be as red as our hat.
Yeah. I look like a lobster. I come
That's
in
more
like this.
crimson.
I come in from the sun. I got claws.
He ain't white, he's crimson.
All
Oh
right,
my
lobster
God.
guy. Okay.
I think that, colorism is a huge thing, but it's all projection because it's like, how can I feel better about myself in a world where I don't feel good about myself in general? I think that's how it is with for Black people. I feel like because we already get like racism and different things like that, I think people utilize colorism as a way to feel better about themselves. And
Sort of like a
bully.
Like a bully.
Yep, absolutely.
A bully's not okay, and they pick on somebody who they think is an easy target or a little soft target that's not going to fight back. So it's sort of maybe the same thing. Okay.
Yes.
Well, colorism from my perspective is a little different.
Okay.
Colorism from my perspective is what we see on TV. Like we said, on the media. Most of the music videos, the rap videos that the young people see is a light-skinned girl or an Hispanic girl. It's rare that you see women as darker toned as Tashiann on a music video. I'm telling you that for a fact, right?
Now I'm going to have to look.
And
Yeah,
then,
I gotta start watching.
and do your
I was gonna-
research. Start watching them.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I have to start watching MTV, but they don't play videos anymore.
When you hear songs, when these young girls hear songs from their favorite rappers saying they like Redbones,
What's a red
a
ball?
Redbone is a high yellow, light-skinned girl. That's the complete opposite of myself and Tashiann. There's levels between me and her skin tone.
It's got to be tough growing up
So,
like that, too.
and it is if you're not confident in who you are. See, what I've been explaining to people of all ages, and I mean men and women from all cultures, confidence is a superpower.
But confidence is the
It's not
last
a
thing.
regular power. It's a superpower.
Confidence is the last thing to develop during maturity. It is the last thing to develop.
I like that that's something to consider. I never even looked at that perspective.
Well, just take a 13-year-old kid, who's going through puberty. My son's 13 years old, so I see it every single day. The acne on the face, and they're unsure. Their body's growing, and stuff's happening, and their hormones are going nuts, and their confidence level is shot. But as they get to 18, and they start getting a little bit more confident every single day, it doesn't matter. Then you become more attractive. At what point, Tashiann, did you become confident in who you are?
It wasn't just a point. It was something that developed for me. So I developed my own style, and looking good helped me feel good. So that helped my confidence.
You don't have a damn wrinkle on your face,
I
which
know.
I find disgusting.
And I won't for a while, okay?
Good skin.
I'm not even going to
No
try to guess how old you are.
No
I don't
makeup.
even want to. Yeah, that's not fair.
And I feel like, I'm learning more and getting better and better at taking care of myself. But my confidence was a full-on journey. Now I'm a butterfly. I'm in my most confident self I've ever been now at this point. Because even before, I was confident, but it was still underlying things, It was like the major insecurities were still there. And now I feel like I know myself. I know that I'm beautiful.
That's awesome.
It's just now it's like the whole package is there.
The funny thing is, and I think Mike's going to agree with me on this one, is the most attractive thing about a woman is confidence.
Confidence.
Yes.
Inner
Yes.
confidence.
Yes.
That's the most attractive thing about a woman. Beauty is fleeting. We all know beauty is fleeting. As you age, the beauty's going to get
Exactly.
taken from you. But a confident woman will always be attractive.
But the problem is, you're out in a bar one day and you're trying to hook up these girls. You don't look at a girl and say, "Oh, I like her confidence." You're going to go after look first.
Well, that's a book by its cover.
Exactly.
It's judging
could
what they
tell.
say.
You still want to see. I always had to be confident, guys, because remember, I grew up in the projects, okay? And my mother at one point in time was like almost 500 pounds, okay? Wow. So just imagine this heavy, overweight, obese lady that was so beautiful and so caring, but will cuss you out and tell you about yourself all at one time, okay? So... being from the projects, bullying is real.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I used to get bullied.
Trust me, I know.
I used to get bullied all the time in elementary school. And it took for me to get to about no lie, guys. I swear, I feel like I had to grow 10 layers of thick skin by the time I got to the second grade.
Now,
That's how far long back I had to get confident.
when you were young, did you get bullied because your mother was large?
I got bullied for everything. You know why I got bullied? Because I was more fortunate than them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that comes to jealousy and insecurity.
Jealousy,
That's what it's all coming
insecurity, and envy. That's what happened to me.
Different countries, same problem.
Same problem. We were so close but so far away. That's why our stories are similar.
It happens in the suburban communities as well. You got some family that's well off. Look at this spoiled little rich kid.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's no different. But getting back to the ugliness that you've seen in the city of Paterson, if you had to pick out one thing that you would like to tell our audience, what do you think the most ugly thing that you saw was?
You want me to go first?
Whoever wants to go.
I literally saw out of my project window a man being chased and gunned down.
How old were you?
Probably about 12, 13.
It's something that will stick with you
I
forever.
would never, ever in life forget that.
Yeah.
Because I shouldn't have witnessed that.
Nobody should witness that. Because that's inhumanity.
It was like a motion picture happening. You ever seen
In
like
slow motion, too.
cowboys and Indians, that type of, but it was almost like a cowboy, but it was the person running had no chance, and I seen it happening right before me.
You want to know the saddest part about that? Is that person who shot that other person will probably be the first person to stand up and say, "Hey, everybody looks down at the people in the inner cities like we're some sort of animals or something."
Yeah, exactly.
All you are is perpetuating a stereotype that people have, rather
Well, let
than
me
showing the
say
good
that
stuff.
person is no longer here.
They live by the sword, die by the sword.
And you got to repent and you got to pay for your sins. So, but that's the worst thing. That's the ugliest thing I had to witness.
Tashiann, what do you
I think the ugliest thing that I've witnessed was I was going to the library and there was someone, they were older, they were on drugs, and they were it scarred me. That's the moment I knew I'm not doing no kind of drugs. They were just like hunched over, and they just didn't. You know how you see drug addicts and they're hunched over.
But they don't hit the floor.
That was a heroin.
Right.
That's heroin.
But this
Okay.
person, they were like hunched over and just like they just looked like they were dying. I felt like I was watching somebody die. And mind you, I was young as hell. Like I was probably like 10 or something.
We used,
at
to
the
sit
library.
we used to sit at UMDNJ in Newark when we had to go down there to serve warrants. And down there, for some reason, that's where all the heroin addicts seem to congregate. And they lean over, and you're like, "Yeah, that one's falling."
You waiting for if I leaned like that, I'd fall flat on my face. Yeah.
I asked the question, no lie, the other day. I said, why is it? And I was asking another person that I knew growing up from the projects. You know, we come from that area. She's older than me. I figured maybe she has the answer. So I asked her, why is it that they never hit the floor? And her answer was, because if they hit the floor, that means they're dead.
Maybe it's their inner fight.
It's an inner fight. Like, that's exactly what it is. It's an inner fight. That's how she said that she asked her aunt that one day, and that was the answer her aunt gave her. Her aunt is on drugs, and she said, because if we hit the floor, that means we know we literally died. So that little bit of strength is what keeps them from hitting the floor.
So my knowledge of the inner cities, spending a fair amount of time in the inner cities, once you travel outside and you see that you get outside of your bubble and you see that this outside world is there, and it sort of changes your perspective because you only know what you know. And you only know what you're told and what you can see, especially as a little kid. For both of you, and I want to pose this both to you, when was the first time that you saw something outside, of course, outside of television, outside where you ventured out and said something? I know a lot of inner city programs, like, they'll take kids out to farms and stuff like this to show them another portion of the world.
Correct.
Because I remember when I was a cop, I pulled, and where I worked, it wasn't like it was a suburban area, but there wasn't many woods there. But I just happened to stop a car, and it was near just a small little patch of woods, and they were afraid a bear was going to come out because they had never been outside their city. When that's not the case. So when was the first time both of you ventured outside and saw something else besides Paterson?
My first time, I was a part of this program called NJ Seeds. They had it at my school. Well, it was an extension of my school, I guess you can say. They got students from different schools around New Jersey, and they brought them to learn on Saturdays at Inglewood. And that area, all you saw was big houses. Like the school I went to was a high school, but it was huge. I'm like, what? Like they had a football field, everything. So that was the first time. And then with that program, we got to go camping and different things like that. Like that program, shout out to NJ Seeds, they actually helped. Because you know how some programs, they come get kids, but the kids ain't really learning nothing. It's like regular school. But this program actually really helped open my mind to bigger things.
And what did you think of it when you saw this vastness that, you know, building after building after building? I don't know of any wooded areas in Paterson.
Right.
Maybe by the Great Falls.
Outskirts, all around. It's just the inner cities that don't have
Right.
it.
Maybe by the Great Falls or something.
Eastside Park.
Yeah. I mean,
Heldon.
But-
It's parks all around. It's just the inner city is where it's not.
but you see
Right,
acres and acres and acres of
With
just
just
trees.
one house smack in the middle.
Right. What did you think of it?
I don't remember exactly what I thought, but I do know that I was sitting by the window oh my God. And then I don't remember exactly, but I do remember the feeling of it. It was just damn, this is crazy.
See, I think they should
didn't
do that
know.
program in reverse. I really do. Take suburban kids and bring them into the inner city. I really do.
Oh.
I really do. Just like you're getting a different perspective.
Okay.
A lot of these kids in the suburbs don't know what the inner cities are like, both good
That's
and
true.
bad.
That's
Because there's a
true.
lot of good things in the inner city. So
That's
I don't
true.
mean to shit on the inner city. I'm not. Because especially
Please
Paterson. Especially Paterson. Paterson has some of the greatest cultural experiences ever. I mean, it was
Downtown alone.
industrial. Without Paterson, New Jersey would be nothing as far as
It
industry.
was Silk City.
Okay.
Silk City. So I think they should do that in reverse, because maybe just like we're sitting down here from two different worlds. Maybe they're curious and maybe they want to ask a question and say, hey, how do you do this? And what do you
now,
do
Kevin,
here?
let's be honest. You know them people is not trying to let their kids come in the hood. Come on now. You is not
They're
gonna
like, "You're
give
gonna
me
go
no
where?"
magical ain't happening, Captain.
So-
Is it working?
They're like, you gotta go where?
You got to be nuts if you think I'm bringing my baby
What,
into the hood.
what teacher's going to sign off on that thing? Oh,
Exactly.
we're taking
Come
a
on,
bus trip
Kevin,
to
now.
Patterson.
Let's be honest.
I agree with you.
Let's
And
be
that's-
honest,
but-
Kevin.
and
Now
that's
we
the-
not gonna make this a cool pretty.
And that's the way that it is. You are correct. But let me ask you something. Is that system working? Because we're more
working.
by not showing kids everything.
No, you know what's not working is these politicians that are head of our wards in these inner cities that's getting money directly from the government. Because guess what? Paterson, New Jersey is a gold mine. Okay? Let me say that one more time.
Every inner city is a gold mine.
Paterson will never know. Let me tell you about Paterson. I can't speak for no other city because I'm not from anywhere else but Paterson. Okay? And I know my history of my city. Paterson is a gold mine. It will forever get money dumped into it by the government because of the Paterson Great Falls. It is a U.S. national park. That means it is funded by the government. That means the state can't even touch Paterson, New Jersey. Okay?
Well, without that inner city, some certain people will lose a lot of money, so therefore they can't let it fail.
But listen, whether the inner city, if they were to rebuild the inner city the way they really, really should, it wouldn't even need to be no one getting kicked out or anything. Just fix everything up the way that it should be and everything will be fine. But what happens is there are politicians